Welcome to the AFC North Roundtable, a weekly live show featuring top-tier insight and analysis on all things AFC North from the best creators in the division, including Baltimore Ravens creator Sam, Pittsburgh Steelers creator Mark, Cleveland Browns creator Chef Zay, and Cincinnati Bengals creator Zim. Catch the AFC North Roundtable every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on the AFC North Roundtable YouTube channel. What is up, AFC North football fans, and welcome into another edition of the AFC North Roundtable. Believe it or not, the 2026 offseason is already here, unfortunately for all of us on the panel. We'll get ready to watch the Super Bowl begrudgingly this upcoming Sunday as the New England Patriots somehow represent the AFC. For the rest of us in the AFC, it is the offseason, and it's already been a wild offseason at that. 3 brand new head coaches in the division, a variety of new coordinators as well. On tonight's episode, we dive into all the changes we've already seen and all the changes we can expect to see as we navigate through the 2026 offseason. Without further ado, let's bring in the fellas, Mark, Sam, Zay, and the lone guy without a new head coach, Zim, not here. Maybe because he doesn't have as much to talk about like you guys do. We got a ton to talk about your 3 teams, and I have a tough time figuring out where I want to start. But I guess we'll start with the longest tenured head coach in the division, no longer manning the ship in Pittsburgh. It's a new face, but a familiar face for NFL fans. The former Green Bay Packer head coach, the former Dallas Cowboy head coach, is now the current Pittsburgh Steelers coach. After nearly 2 decades with Mike Tomlin, Mark, your Pittsburgh Steelers are now being led by Mike McCarthy. So talk to us about how this has kind of been resonating with Steelers fans, because I know at first it felt like the majority of Pittsburgh faithful were not in on this decision. We're a week and a half or so removed from it, 2 weeks now. How has things kind of settled over with Mike McCarthy now being in charge in Pittsburgh?
Some of the Yinzers wouldn't be happy if you give them a $5 and a handshake, you know what I mean, or a high five. Like the first time, so Mike Tomlin stepped down, and I was a huge Mike Tomlin fan, and I think it was the right choice at the right time. I think Mike Tomlin was done. People talk about like that they should fire him. I think Mike Tomlin was done. Now the reaction was all around this like Chris Schuler, Steelhouse, and those 2 guys haven't even got the head coaching jobs yet. Not that I know too much about them, nor that am I picking on them, but the fan base really wanted Chris Schuler in connection to his grandfather, Don Shula, the Miami Dolphins, that defensive angle, that young route that way. And then they end up finding out that a few weeks later, a week later, we got Mike McCarthy. And the first time that the Yinzers heard about Mike McCarthy, they were fucking pissed off. They were so done. They were like, okay, he's going to go, 9-8 in the season. It's Dallas Cowboys. They win some games, get the playoffs and lose. His record is very similar to Mike Tomlin. They brought up the race card and called him the white Mike Tomlin or whatever it was. So they went that route. Not all of them, but you look on the internet and the Yinzers weren't too happy. They were pretty mad. Then he came out to do a press conference, and I think he won them over because he's a Pittsburgh guy. He's from Greenfield, which is about like 20 Ks, or what do you guys do? Fucking 12 miles away, a couple miles away from the stadium. And by the way, your weather's awful too. You guys have been telling me about you guys are 17 degrees over there, but it's like minus 20 degrees for your snow. But Mike McCarthy is a Yinzer. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He supported the team even when he was coaching, or he's from there, born there. And he made a press conference, and he's like, it's Pittsburgh's my home. When he said Pittsburgh's my home, it was all better. It was all better, and everyone's like jumping in. But I think like our fan bases and most fan bases just overreact. They see someone come in, a coach comes in, they're used to someone else, or they want the different expectation of something happening next. And Mike McCarthy wasn't their guy, a preconceived idea that was going to be the coach, and now he is. From my perspective, why I think he did it, or why the Rooney went this direction, they still want to have a chance to win this year, next year. They don't want to do a total rebuild, and maybe the roster isn't that great. So maybe in that terms of giving a Chris Schuler or these guys a brand new head coach who've never been a head coach of any team, maybe the roster's poor in that sense. Maybe there's some Steelers that won't be there. We don't have a quarterback right now. With that same idea where Rodgers, could he be coming back? Or is it going to be Will Howard, sixth rounder, or Mason Rudolph as QB1? Don't have a quarterback. So I think they went the Mike McCarthy's direction because he was stability, kind of like the safe pick, kind of like the, I guess just the pick they want to try and contend with playoffs and build for that roster the next 5 years. But it's not that similar to Mike Tomlin. It feels like it is, but he's an OC guy and he's going to start to put on points. And now Mike McCarthy is bringing in all his staff in. He's got like 15 new coaches, and I'm calling them the Pittsburgh Packers. That's what they are. They have like 11 coaches linking back to Mike McCarthy from the Packers. So in a nutshell, Yinzers were fucking pissed off, and now they're okay. But that happens all the time.
The Yinzers are pissed off. I'm interested to see what the rest of the division feels about this hire. Zay, your initial reaction when Mike McCarthy was named head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
What I've been calling for a long time, boys. Huh? I mean, the free fall has begun. It feels sloppy. It feels like this isn't the Steeler way. This is rushed. You know, I just want to touch back on something that he said. He said that Mike, he did it. He felt like he was done. Nah, I don't think he was done. I just think that personally, he respected the organization. He respected what the fans felt. He respected what was the Steeler way, and it's either championship or not. And he felt it, but this is him going out on his own terms, the way that he's always done it, the way that he's done the Steelers organization for the past 18 years. It's been his way or the highway. And him going out this way, sure, he probably felt the pressure from the fans and all of that stuff, but he wasn't going to let y'all run him out. He wasn't going to let it be dictated any other way than this way, and him parting ways himself and just calling it quits because, again, he respects what the Steeler way was supposed to be and not living up to that expectation. I think that there's going to be a world where Mike McCarthy, look at that, already getting ahead of myself, where there's a world where Mike Tomlin probably gets back in this thing on his terms, but everything that he's built for what he stood for in Mike Tomlin, this is right up Mike Tomlin's way of just being like, you know what? I respect you guys. And he told you that in the press conference, saying that this is expected. He's supposed to get this type of hate from the Steelers fans because they're used to Super Bowls and they're not living up to that expectation. And this hire with the Mike McCarthy and getting a Homer guy who's from the city and going to try to redo this thing up. Oh, it's so Cleveland Brown-esque, which I've been warning you guys about. I couldn't love it anymore. So have fun with your bandage projects. It's going to be a ride for you guys. And I'm just going to let you know, you better buckle up because it's not all what you guys are expecting it up to be. You just better hope that the Steeler way prevails because you don't want to be down here in the dumps for 30 years. I'll tell you that straight. But you're on your way. You're free falling. Have fun.
Zay gives, I guess, his seal of approval mark on this hiring by your Pittsburgh Steelers. Sam, how about you? What do you think when it comes to Mike McCarthy being the head coach of Pittsburgh?
I'm not going to lie, I felt like kind of a lateral move in some sense. I will say Mike McCarthy brings more offensive, prowess to the Steelers, something that they really haven't had ever, really, if I go back and think about it. So good on them. Mike McCarthy, Pittsburgh guy. Nice to have him here if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But as Mark mentioned, who's the quarterback? That's the question of the day. Can't get far, even as excited as you are as an offensive-minded coach to come in to your hometown. You don't got a QB. You got no shot. Aaron Rodgers didn't look like himself in the wild card round. I would not want to have him back. A guy like Malik Willis, that could be somebody intriguing to bring in. I'm not sure if Will Howard's the guy or whoever else they have in that roster, but I think that they're going to miss Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin kept this team afloat for 18 seasons, got him to the pinnacle, the promised land once, but it's going to be very difficult to find a coach that's going to be as consistent as that guy has been for the last 18 years. Good on him for leaving on his own terms, but the Steelers are in a bit of hot water. As Mark mentioned, that roster isn't that great. It's not like he's coming in to a roster that's fit for a championship push. And those Steelers fans are going to get restless unless they move forward amicably, quickly. So we'll see what they do in the offseason. I know the free agency period is going to be a really telling sign for where this football team is going, but I just feel like they're going to miss Mike Tomlin sooner rather than later.
The longest tenured coach in the NFL, no longer coaching within the division. The second longest tenured head coach, no longer coaching in the division as well. The Ravens make a massive move this offseason, parting ways with John Harbaugh, who is now the head coach of the New York Giants. The Baltimore Ravens going in an entirely different direction, trying to capitalize on the back half of Lamar Jackson's career here, and they will do so with former Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. So despite having Lamar Jackson, not an offensive-oriented mind here that they go with at head coach, but a defensive-oriented one. And that's kind of consistent with what Baltimore has been, at least throughout my lifetime, always had that defensive culture all the way up until this point, despite having the two-time MVP. They'll continue down that road here with Jesse Minter. So right back to you, Sam. Thoughts on this hire for your Baltimore Ravens, and what's it look like moving forward here heading into this next upcoming season?
I was very excited when they fired John Harbaugh. You guys know I've been here all year long talking about Super Bowl or bust for this team. Clearly they didn't even make the playoffs, so I was definitely on board for the firing of John. I was happy when he went to New York. Good luck over there in New York. You guys are in for a treat over there. But I like Jesse Minter. I think the hire was obvious. I think if you take away the press conference from Steve Bisciotti, take away all of the things you've heard through the grapevine from other coaches, you just knew that Jesse Minter was going to be the coach. He's the most qualified for the job from what the Ravens need on defense. He has that, connection with the Baltimore Ravens. He was a coach here a few years back. So it just felt like it was going to be the case. He was with Jim Harbaugh in Los Angeles last year. It just all made sense for him to be the guy. Now, do I expect the Ravens to be successful like I thought they would be a few years back? I'm not sure. There's a question mark. He's never been a head coach, so I can't really speak to whether or not he'll be good or not. I do know the Ravens are doing everything they can to give this guy tools to be successful. Declan Doyle is the OC for Chicago. Didn't have play calling duty, so there's a question mark there as well. Defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver was the defense coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. Wasn't really that great of a defensive coordinator in Miami. The stats didn't speak for it, but Jesse Minter will be calling the plays over there in Baltimore. He had success over there in LA. So there's going to be a lot of question marks here. Who this team is going to be. You'll find out if it was the roster or the coaching staff last year with this new coaching staff, because they are turning over everything. There's maybe one or two coaches that are coming back this year that were there last year, and they're more special teams guys. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the hire. I think it was the best hire that this team could have possibly made, but it's a question mark. This team is inexperienced. They're going to have to do what they have to do to lean on the players to get the job done.
Massive changes in Baltimore, Zay. What do you make of the changes that Baltimore has made here, including hiring Jesse Minter as their head coach?
I don't got much for you other than the fact that it just feels like they went the opposite direction of what the Browns are trying to do. Obviously, they're leaning on their offense to be like, you know what, we won't try to tweak as much on that side of the ball. Lamar wants to run his show over there. I imagine he's going to have full command of everything that goes on in terms of scheme, who's going to be like what they want to run, like, because it's a slippery slope over there. I'm sure, Sam, you didn't touch on Lamar at all, which I'm very surprised because you mentioned it. He wasn't at the press conference. You want him to be this leader. I've been asking you questions all throughout this past season about the Lamar thing and about will there ever be a world where he may not be here? And now that he got his wish with Harbaugh, it still doesn't seem like that's enough. So it seems like they're going to try the DC hire, or him being a DC as the head coach. That tells me that Lamar's show is going to be on the offense, and we're going to do everything we can to get back to the Raven way, which is letting their defense be the staple. Like, sure, they've had, Jamal Lewis's of the world, but the Ravens were a defensive team, and it seems as if they drifted from that. So this hire points that they're trying to go back to a familiar territory. So we'll see how it goes.
That we will. Mark, what do you make of the hiring here for the Ravens? A big move, moving off of Harbaugh like your Steelers had made with Tomlin here, and they go with Jesse Minter.
You want my honest opinion, like what I actually think?
I would love that.
I have no fucking clue. Does anyone have a clue? Like, who's Minter? Like, we don't watch the Chargers football. I don't know who he is. I don't know what his birthday is, where he's from, what his favorite coffee is. I don't know if he's a good DC or a bad DC. All I know is what I'm going to miss is Tomlin versus Wang Harbs. That's what we used to call John Harbaugh. We're going to miss that. But honestly, because I don't know. I have no idea. All I'm hoping is that this guy can fail.
Well said, Mark. And you know what? That's the key here. There is so much unknown with all these new coaches that are kind of coming up the ranks.
Like 0-0?
Right. Yeah. Brand new head coach.
Look, to me, okay, there's a lot of pressure. Like, Ravens are a really, really good side, being good for a long time. will you see this now? Was it John Harbaugh or the players? Because there was a bit of mix up there, right? In terms of not getting the playoffs and things, failing, or didn't the Ravens lose I don't know, they couldn't win in the fourth quarter or something? They were down by a lot of points, give it away. Now, if this guy comes in, but how does he set that new culture? And same when we get to Zay as well, how do they set new culture? Same with my coach too. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've got rid of every coach. Only one coach, I think, has survived, or two coaches have survived. Tom Arthur, the quarterback's coach, and that's it. It's all new, and that means the players stay as well. So in terms of this guy coming in, I think it's good for a fun, fresh new take, and the next 5 years of talking about it, and it's this guy, that guy, he's out. See what happens. Obviously you've got was it fucking Vrabel in the Pats now in the Super Bowl when he was going really bad. Now he's here, so that's can turn it around. There are guys like Ben Johnson who goes through the Bears, and that works out. We've seen stuff like that. So, but from my perspective, I don't want him to fail completely and lose his job or whatever. But it's how it is. But can he live up to what John has done with the Ravens? And is there a big difference between the players and coaching staff? Which one was it really? I don't know.
Well, maybe Zim has the answer for us as he winds up joining the fellas on the AFC North Roundtable. Zim, we just talked Mike McCarthy and Jesse Minter. Real quick, your thoughts on those two hires for both those organizations?
I think I'm sorry for the miscommunication. I deeply apologize, man. I hate being late for anything. But first of all, I think the Mike McCarthy one, I want to start there. If I'm a Steelers fan, I'm thinking this doesn't represent anything fresh to me, and that would be the bigger issue. If I had a quarterback that I really trusted, I think he could help out a lot. But the fact that they don't, and they don't know what Will Howard is, I just don't see the value in it. And I think I didn't hear what everybody else said, but from a division rival, I mean, to me, it's an ideal hire. That's the guy that's the guy I just didn't. I have no worries. He was awful in Dallas. And most Green Bay fans will tell you that he was decent, but Aaron Rodgers really carried that. Prime Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers might come back. I'm like, shoot, bring him back. Not worried about that. That's what we want. We want them to keep on being 8-9 wins, and that's perfect. Now Jesse Minter, I gotta come clean on this one. If the Bengals were to, I hate that this happened.
I know.
And this happens a lot. And it happens a lot in the draft. But if the Bengals would have moved on from Zach Taylor, Jesse Minter was my number one choice. And I told everybody that. That was a guy that I wanted because I watched him turn that switch on for the Chargers. And I know the Bengals had success playing them, but his disguised looks and different things like that, and me watching them go to the number one EPA per play defense in the NFL, I just did not, you know what I'm saying? I did not want them to hire him. I really didn't. So that, to me, that was a good hire. That was an excellent hire. If you're going to do it and you're going to move on, you need to do it like that. Go get a brilliant mind, a smart guy, someone that has proven in the NFL they've done something, even if it isn't a head coach, but proven that he can change something, change the culture or change the actual, you know what I mean? Defense or offense. And I think he did that. And then afterwards, he's now hiring the staff members in that same thing, in that same breath of new, fresh, young guys that have worked with a Ben Johnson, guys that have worked with people that have had success that people like. And to me, that's if we would have moved on, that's what you would want it to look like. That doesn't mean that it's going to work, but that's, to me, when a fan base says that they want a new hire, that's what it looks like.
There is a new hire in Cleveland as well, but it's not necessarily a new coach. Todd Monken has been coaching in some capacity since 1989. No head coach experience in the NFL, but he did have a 3-year stint with Southern Mississippi in college as a head coach. Now Ted Monken leaves the Baltimore Ravens as an offensive coordinator and becomes the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, finally fulfilling the wishes of Zay, who is demanding Kevin Stefanski be gone all year long. Kevin Stefanski, now the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Who replaces him? Todd Monken, who shows up with his blazer on, his blue jeans. He's ready to rock. And Zay, you seem ready to rock too. Talk to me about your thoughts on Todd Monken being the head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, they had me in the first half. I ain't gonna lie. They had me in the first half. But after the emotion settled and the dust got that little simmer dust, it was like, oh my gosh, it's a new day in the freaking land. I mean, what have I been asking for a long time? I'm tired of the robotic. I wanted a football guy. I wanted it, right? And God, Bolly G, we got it, all right? I mean, I'm talking about we got bona fide. I wake up. The quote was, oh, I've been married 40 years, but really for about 6 because I'm married to the game. Like wifey, you got a good 6 years out of me. The other 34, it's all football. And I couldn't be more happier. And I just wanted to note something real quick. We got Zim's approval because he said that if you what you want in a hire is, something, a proven experience, whether it's a head coach or not, and a change, whether it be on offense or defense. Well, I know for a fact that this man has had success in Georgia. I know for a fact he got Lamar Jackson to throw for 4,000 yards and win back-to-back MVP. I know for a fact that this man has full control of the offense, is going to build this thing from the ground up, like he said in his press conference. So I thank you for the approval from Zim for giving me that qualification to know that we made the right hire. So I couldn't be more happier right now. The press conference was absolute chronic. If you ain't seen it, you might want to go check it out because it was bar after bar. And like I said, it is a new day in Cleveland, and you better pray. You better hope. Oh, you better hope that he don't get this offense going because he already, whether Jim Schwartz back or not, I know where that's going. Whether he back or not, he said, hey, look, I wasn't chipping Jim Schwartz, baby boy. I was chipping Myles Garrett. I was worrying about Denzel Ward. I was worried about Grant Delpit. It ain't about Jimmy. So we going to be all right. We're going to be all right.
Talk to me about Jim Schwartz, though, because he seems to be a bit disgruntled over this hire. There was an idea that maybe he would take over the job. Not the case. So looks like he's going to be on the way out the door, leading, of course, that top-tier defense in Cleveland. Are you happy with the offensive approach here, and do you think that the Cleveland Browns have the personnel on defense to overcome the loss of Jim Schwartz potentially?
I think it started with that press conference, quite frankly. Like, you needed to have that right. Like, you really needed to say the right thing there to at least give that defense in the locker room that nod like, okay, I can respect that. Like, because we got to call a spade a spade. This defense was over the moon for Jim Schwartz. That's why when the hire first dropped down, that's why my initial reaction was so just, what every Browns fan that wanted the young hip guy was, just because we knew that it was between Todd and Jim. It was like, damn, we're going to sacrifice Jim for Todd. It's just like, you could have just went seamless transition there. But then after hearing what he said and hearing and just exerting the alphaness in the building, I think that's something that if Jim Schwartz can take a step back and be like, look, I'm an alpha myself. I can respect a leader of this caliber. Like, look, we going to do it here with or without you, buddy boy. Like, we got prime players on this defensive side of the ball. So you can either stay on board or you can take your reins somewhere else, because let's face it, Jim Schwartz isn't in a head coaching spot anywhere else right now. So emotions were obviously high. If I was Jim Schwartz, I would feel just as slighted, especially with all of the little rumbles where there was one going around where apparently he was so confident that he was getting the job that he was telling his family members, and it was just like it was almost like signed, sealed, just not delivered. You bring him in for 2 interviews, and you've been there for 3 years. You've proven that you can be a leader to not only a defense, but a team, because the offense fed off of the defense as well. You've had a top 3 defense 2 out of the 3 years you've been here. So if I'm Jim, I felt it. But if the goal is to win championships, if the goal is to win and put out a product, I don't see why you would want to move from this, knowing that you've got one of the best offensive minds coming into this building. And the one thing that we've been wanting for the past 2 years is a competent offense. You put a competent offense with your defense, Jim, the sky is the freaking limit. So if he can just let his emotions and put that ego to the side and just fall in line. I mean, you've been falling in line for 20, 30 plus years anyway. That's how you've been in the NFL this long. We can have something special on our hands.
I'll go to you here, Sam. You know Todd Monken better than anybody. What do you make of him now being the leader in charge of the Cleveland Browns, moving from your Baltimore Ravens?
I'll let Zim handle the negativity associated with this because I know he's going to do that.
Yes, sir.
You know it's coming.
You already
You
know
know
it's coming. So I'll keep that for him. What I will say is, one, I'm surprised that it went with Monken and not with Schwartz. I think that might, come back to haunt him. I'm not sure how you bring Schwartz back after that. But if he finds a way, that's good on him.
That's how.
Okay, I see that. I can see that. I don't know Monken personally. Never got a chance to talk to him, but I do know people who have talked to him, who do know him personally, and they're very excited for Todd Monken to be the head coach of the Browns. I'm excited. I think there's a good chance this could come out very well. Monken's one of those guys that can make something out of nothing. And even though I'm not really for the Browns front office, the owner, he can really mess things up. But Monken's one of the few guys that can make something happen despite what's going on around him. So he can make something with this QB room. He can make something with the offensive line. He can make something shake. So he's very good at, maneuvering within wherever he's at. So the offense that he played in Baltimore, that's not Monken's offense. Monken's offense is nothing like what we saw in Baltimore. That was Greg Roman's offense, and all he did was put his little spin on it and make it what it was the last 3 years. Same thing in Georgia. He's just very good at making the most out of his players. So if I'm the Browns fans, I'm very excited for Monken. I think, this could be, I don't want to say it's a dangerous outlook for the rest of the division, but this could be something where we're looking back at it like, wow, Monken really did something with what we thought was going to be nothing. So I like the hire. I think it's good. If they can get Schwartz in, that will be even better. But yeah, this is a good hire. You guys are going to love Monken. Monken is a straight shooter. In fact, I think Melvin just said that over there in the chat. So very much a straight shooter. He's going to keep it real. If I text Monken right now and ask him a question, he's going to be as honest as possible. And if I say something incorrect on social media, he'll give me a call, find a way to get a hold of me, and really wrap it out with you and let you know why he thinks that you're wrong for what you did. So he's a really guy that's not afraid to be confrontational. That's why he didn't get along with a lot of players in Baltimore. So if those players in Cleveland aren't used to that, get ready, because he's going to be a guy who's going to come in and keep it straight with you, whether you like it or not.
Sam, with the positive spin, that's where we have to bring in our resident Baltimore Ravens hater, the self-proclaimed #1 Ravens hater on the planet, Zim. What do you make of the leader in charge of the offense in Baltimore now becoming the leader of the franchise in Cleveland?
I'm not moved by the move. Like I'm not moved one bit. I feel like I did say this. I thought that Cleveland needed somebody to crack the whip. I think he'll be that. But I think when you don't have an established culture, there's always like those, it's going to be like a segment that they got to weed out. That's not going to go for it, because they're going to be like, they're just not there. Everybody doesn't buy into that type of message if the culture isn't already set. And what happens is he has to make an example out of some of those guys that probably been getting off doing probably some things that they probably shouldn't be doing the whole time. And he's got to set the example. So that's where I think you're going to see a rift with some of the players, because when it's time to crack the whip on an organization that isn't one shit, that's what it looks like. And I think it's a process. And I think Jay always talks about, that new stadium and all that other stuff. Like, I don't even know the name of that thing or whatever, but like, whatever that is, I think to me, they have to buy into a long-term thing with it, like a 3-year plan at least. I don't know when they're supposed to move into the stadium, but I think that it's a process. You don't have a quarterback and you don't have all these different things, and you're trying to figure out all those things while you got this guy trying to crack the whip and try to whatever. I know Monken was really good with the Bucks. I know Lamar had one of his best seasons with him, but that's not really the bigger issue to me with the Browns. And I just think for me, it would have been cool if they could have got somebody that was exciting, that they could buy into like long-term, that was probably younger, that they could grow with. But we all know Cleveland doesn't stick with anybody long enough. And that's the thing. Like all of our teams, the other 3 teams on the panel, we all have something in common. We stick with it. We do the thing where we stick the course, and we only have a couple coaches in our history. Like all 3 teams only had we have coaches for like 15 years. These dudes just fire coaches like left and right, and it's all part of their storylines. Like Cleveland fans buy into storylines and drama and all this other stuff more so than football. And I just don't. I think that they're in for a rude awakening, because all that BS that they talk on those like talk shows and all that stuff like that, Yeah, they're going to get a straight shooter. And then what happens when you get a straight shooter at those press conferences? Now you got all this material to talk about like all day. So now it's going to be all these stories about what Monken said at a press conference because he's not keeping everything like in the tuck. And that's going to be part of the process too. So if they could stick with it long enough, sure. I just know Cleveland never does that though. They never stick with anybody.
Mark, Steelers stuck with Mike Tomlin for nearly 2 decades. Now Zay adds Todd Monken as his head coach. What do you make of the move for what Cleveland did here, Mark? Are you inspired by it, or does it not move you much?
I'm inspired. I reckon they're going to win the division next year.
Okay.
I reckon they'll win the Super Bowl. I reckon they'll.
Wait. What?
What?
Is this satire? I can't tell here.
No, I'm being serious. They have a really good team. It's a great team.
Wow.
They're probably one of the best teams in the NFL right now.
Okay.
I reckon Monken, he'll probably go, 14-3. The Browns.
Man, 3 losses. That's pretty rich there.
Nah, I don't know. Same as I don't know. It's the fucking Browns.
Yeah.
Me and Zay, we're waiting for the new stadium. That's what I'm waiting for.
You're waiting for the new stadium.
Yeah, because that's what I keep hearing about is new stadium.
Oh, you're waiting for Cleveland. I was going to say, I thought you were waiting on you. I'm like, you guys aren't getting.
No, look, I don't know. This is the thing. I just counted through the Browns coaching fucking since 2000. They have 11 coaches. Zimmer's right. Why? How can they not keep coaches in their like why was Stefanski fired if he was the coach of the year twice? Why do they keep moving on from the different regimes and culture year after year after year? They're going to give Sanders a chance. Next minute, they'll fucking boot him out of the way, and they'll get someone else. They just need to be consistent. I know Zay wants to bring me down to be the new Browns and be the Steelers. You know, we're on our way. We keep saying that. We're like that, but the Browns just can't seem to develop the culture of winning, of getting to first and being there for a long time. And when they do, they go and fire the fucking coach. So I'm not like best of luck to him and all. And if he was a good Ravens coach or whatever, but it's all 0-0 in the head record. But at the same time, until the Browns can, I think sometimes too, the Browns fans they live in this misery and they stay there. Whereas I'm in fucking nice sunny Australia, mate, 75 degrees, 85 degrees. You got to get up, go to work, feel chippy, feel all right, and keep going. Brown fans like, oh, we're going to be fourth again. You think that way? Maybe you'll be that way. So I think they got to get out of their own way. They need to just have the plan for the next 5 years and start to win consistent ball games and stick with the quarterback, stick with the head coach, stick with someone. They keep chipping, changing players out all the time.
I'm just saying, look, I just want to say one thing. Look, you guys clowned us about the coaches. You're about 12 deep at the quarterback position. You're on your second coach now. Just pump your brakes a little bit. You next thing you know, you're going to look up Mike McCarthy going to be fired. You're going to have 4 more new. Will Howard and failed. You didn't drafted a quarterback next year. Next thing you know, you got a jersey longer than us. So just relax, Mark. Okay.
Not yet. You're like 40 players.
I listen. You've been low at 12 since Ben.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Something like that.
Since Big Ben, maybe 7. I think 7.
I think it's a little more than that.
No, it's a 12.
No, well, you're on your way, buddy. So just relax. Your time is coming. It's not fun. So,
only 33 different players difference.
Man, Mark, Zay wants you to get down and dirty and roll in the mud with him so bad. He wants you down there bad.
Hey, that 8 and 9 is gonna hit like crack. And when you see those Steelers fans erupt on the timeline when they go 8 and 9 this year.
Well, we will see what ends up coming to fruition. There's already been tons of changes. And, of course, with the offseason just beginning, there will be tons more. We'll talk about salary cap and moves that need to be made for these 4 teams in the AFC North in just a sec. Before we do, want to give a shout-out to my friends over at RotoWire. They've had us covered all year long with their premium tools, and they still have you covered all the way through the Super Bowl. And, of course, NBA, MLB, NHL, all on RotoWire. Tons of premium features, including my favorite, the NFL odds and betting lines tool. You can compare all of the major sports books lines all in one place. That way you can be rest assured that you get the best value for your bet. So right here for the Super Bowl, you can get the best line for the Seahawks over on BetMGM, the best line for the Patriots over on DraftKings. You can compare all the lines for all of the wagers you plan to make on Super Bowl Sunday, NBA, NHL. It's all on RotoWire. Link in the description below. Click that, sign up for a premium RotoWire subscription, and once you do, use the promo code RTS, and that will get you 15% off that premium subscription. Speaking of the Super Bowl, we are just a few days away, and look, we got to watch the freaking Patriots again, fellas, so we need something to root for here. That's where our friends at Sleeper come in. You got to get it on the action. You got to have something to fight for on Super Bowl Sunday. And if your team can't be in it, you might as well be in on the action with a Sleeper slip. Here's mine. I got Sam Darnold more than 228.5. Kenneth Walker to get into the end zone. JSN more than 94.5. And I think Drake May is going to be scrambling a lot with that defense of Seattle coming after him. I got him more than 37.5 rush yards. You can tell that. Or, of course, create your own via the link in the description below. You click that, sign up for Sleeper, and then once you do, you will immediately get a free $20 entry. You can use that for the Super Bowl, of course, NBA, NHL, you name it. It's all on Sleeper. Once you use that free $20 entry, use the promo code on your screen, RTS, and that will get you a 100% match up to $100 on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper terms of use for details. Currently available in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper via the link in the description below. Once that Super Bowl comes to a conclusion, and God knows we're all rooting for that, we turn the page towards looking at the draft and free agency. We are a little over a month and a week away from the free agency period kicking off. About a month after that will be the draft. So there's a lot to look forward to here. And with all these new changes within this division, you got to think there's going to be a ton of shakeup within the roster as well that we can expect. So let's dive into what we can expect to see from your guys' teams in terms of roster turnover and what they're going to do with the salary cap. So I'm going to start here with you, Zim, and taking a look at the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, they're the only team in the division that did not make a head coaching change, but obviously, since he falls short yet again last year with the injury to Joe Burrow, defense once again not being what everyone would hope in Cincinnati, you got to expect more changes around the horizon for Cincinnati to get back into that Super Bowl window that they were just in a couple of years ago. So with the amount of cap space in mind, draft capital in mind, what can we expect to see from Cincinnati this offseason?
For Bengals fans, we're hoping that we can get some creativity as far as like the actual contracts that we need to get restructures on to get that extra player or so, right? I looked at this, and I don't know if people knew this too. Like in 2024, 6 out of the 7 playoff teams were at the lowest in terms of cash spent. So to me, it's not always about like the amount of money that you're spending. The Bengals have all the cap space, but the problem that they're having is they're not alleviating and being creative with their contracts. Like a contract like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, there's no risk to it. So there are different things in their contract where they can restructure, pull extra money from all day, easy, clear up like 20, 30 million per player. Like we can go get an extra 40 mil. Currently right now, the Bengals are the 7th highest cap space in the NFL because of the miseducation online. People somehow think that we spent all this money on Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase, which is like the most idiotic thing I've heard like on the internet. Yes, the offense is one of the highest paid offenses in the NFL, but it's no different than a team that's spending a crazy amount of money on defense or whatever, right? Like it's not like we're spending so much more money than like it's not like that. And they do have cap space and they do have flexibility because they don't have anybody on defense that's getting major cash. But the problem that I think that they're running into is like when we just paid Trey Hendrickson, if they would have got creative with some of the stuff, I think they would have had enough to go get like an extra player or two. So those are the things that I want them to do. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have been on in Radio Row. Jamar announced that he's doing a new podcast coming up with T. Higgins helping him out. He also talked about they were talking about big names today. Max Crosby, talking about Jeff Simmons. They were talking about defense wins championships. So the players are now on board. Even T. Higgins had a quote like a day or two ago saying that they're fed up with not making the playoffs. They're angry. They have the means without doing any of the stuff that I'm saying to go sign big players. Like I want them to sign like Devin Lloyd, the linebacker from the Jaguars. I want them to sign Leo Chenot, the linebacker formerly from the Chiefs, right? They have the means to do those simple things. I want them to do some extra restructures to just go get extra players in on top of that. And then I think people will start to see like some of their plans start to come to fruition. The problem isn't drafting a Shamar Stewart in the first round. The problem is drafting that and expecting him to be the guy and nobody else. Like you got to have like contingency plans here all over the roster. I think the offensive line, everybody is all paid. All the tight end, Gesicki's under contract. Running back, Chase Brown might get an extension. He may not. It's not a crazy situation. All the wide receivers are paid up. The quarterback's paid up. The tackles are paid up. The most expensive positions in football are paid up for the Bengals. They just need to go and get the veteran people that they did like in 2021 to shore up the roster. And hopefully in the draft too, if you got a top 10 pick, you come back with a premium, another defensive talent. Hopefully you get one of the big guys like Bain, Bailey, or Caleb Downs is who I want. You get one of those guys, and then you just keep it pushing.
Bengals have some money that they can spend right now, according to Spot Track, $54.6 million. That's not including the $25-ish million that we'll see in an increase of the salary cap moving forward here, restructures as well. So they certainly got the cash available to be able to make some moves, as does Baltimore right now, $22.7 million above the cap. Sam, what do you think we're going to see in terms of changes for Baltimore in free agency and in this upcoming draft here?
I think the biggest story in the National Football League is Lamar Jackson and signing that extension. I think it's huge. $74.5 million cap hit in March 11th, actually, if they do not sign him to an extension. Now, Steve Bisciotti's already gone on record as saying they're going to void some years, push some stuff back to get Lamar Jackson's cap numbers friendly, but that's a non-issue to me. He's 29 years old. No reason not to sign an extension. We've all talked about him being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. There's no reason for you not to sign an extension unless you don't want to be a Baltimore Raven. So Josh Allen signed his extension, actually very team-friendly deal. Dak Prescott, $60 million per year. You know, Joe Burrow's $55 million a year before Josh Allen re-signed for another $55 million per year average. So if Lamar Jackson wants to win a championship, make that contract extension on par with Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, $55 million a year. If you want to get paid more than Dak Prescott, sure. $65 million a year seems to be the trend. So there really shouldn't be an issue. There shouldn't be any time wasted in getting the contract extension done unless you don't want to sign the contract extension. So if March 11th comes around and Lamar Jackson doesn't sign the contract extension, that tells me everything I need to know about where Lamar Jackson lies with the Baltimore Ravens. So that's where I'm at with Lamar Jackson. I think he does sign the extension. I'm just saying if he doesn't, we know why. Other than that, there's not really a lot of cap moves you can do. Roquan Smith has a decent sized contract that they can expel if they trade him or cut him. Same with Marlon Humphrey. I don't think they do anything with Roquan Smith, but I think Marlon Humphrey could be potentially cut. But signing Tyler Linderbaum becomes numero uno after that extension with Lamar Jackson. They got to get him under contract. If he gets in the free agency, he's gone. Someone's going to pay him $21 million a year, and the Ravens won't be able to match it. So the Ravens need to be able to extend Tyler Linderbaum, but they can't do that unless they figure out the Lamar Jackson contract situation first.
I had a couple questions. I just have two questions I do want to ask. My first question is about on the Lamar situation, right? Do people just act like, like when I don't know the timetable on Josh Allen. I know Joe Burrow was signed third year in, first sign available, didn't wait 4 or 5 years, franchise tag, none of that stuff. Are people playing that? Like, is that a part of the conversation now? The fact that y'all waited that long to extend them the first time, is that a part of the conversation now, or is that all just forgotten? That's my first question. And then my second question is, you guys are the 30th ranked team in terms of external free agents in all of football. You don't sign outside people. I watch your fan base Photoshop wide receivers every damn year. Is there a realistic thing that makes people think that something is going to change this year that make them think that they're going to sign free agents?
So I'll do the first one first. The Ravens tried to extend Lamar Jackson last year. They couldn't get a deal done. It's not a conversation now. I don't know why it's not a conversation, because it should be a conversation. What's the holdup? What's the reason? Josh Allen got his contract done. You're the next man up. So there's no reason for the wait. So I think it's just one of the reasons is because it's just very hard to get a hold of Lamar Jackson and get a deal done. The Ravens have talked about that when they got the deal done the first time. So that's part of it. But right now, time's a wasting. You want to win a championship, you need to get cap space in order to make these moves that Zim you're talking about. So it should be a conversation. It's not. The fan base doesn't really like it when you talk, negatively about Lamar Jackson. But it's a subject that's going to arise in 6 weeks if you don't get the job done. So that's where I'm looking at it. As far as external signings, the Ravens tried to get Quinnen Williams at the trade deadline last year. They weren't able to get it done. You're right. It's going to be very difficult. The Ravens don't really do that. They really do try and use your draft to get things done. Didn't work this time. They got Daniel Falele and Andrew Voorhees as your two guards, and didn't really have a lot of depth at defensive line. So that will probably need to change. I don't expect it to be a push the way people are talking about maybe A.J. Brown coming to Baltimore or George Pickens signing to Baltimore. I don't see that. I think the Ravens will get a receiver through the draft and not free agency. They'll need to get a pass rusher somehow, some way via trade, maybe. But it all ties down to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson doesn't sign an extension. There's no space in the cap to do anything like that.
That's the question I have for you, Sam. What is the end result? Let's just say Lamar plays hardball this year. What is the end result in all of this?
You got 1 year left in his deal. I don't see him, being a Raven after 2028 if he doesn't sign this extension this year. If you don't sign it this year, why would you sign it next year? You're going to wait and see what happens with the new coaching staff, and then all of a sudden you got dead money on the back end of a 29-year-old quarterback. It just doesn't make any sense. If I'm the Ravens, you don't trade him because you only save about $17 million and you have about $40+ million, $50+ million in dead cap. So there's no reason to trade him. But as far as where you see this guy going in the future, if you don't sign an extension, you just telling the Ravens fan base and the front office you don't want to be here. So I think the clock will be ticking in that regard.
You forgot one part of that though. What does the locker room feel of all of this? Like your leader is telling you that you're telling the fans in this, but what does the locker room think of this? I get like a lot of the players are always, well, go get your money, but it's like, bro, you got your money. We trying to win now. Like you're what's the feel going on in the locker room going on? Like, this is my leader.
I think the overall consensus is he's going to sign the extension. I think that's why everybody's like, oh, let's just go get your money, play hardball, get as much money as you can. But if he doesn't sign the extension, that's when the move will shift. And then we'll probably have a conversation there. But right now, everybody in the locker room, the front office, media, fans, everybody thinks he's going to sign this extension. All I'm saying is it's February 4th, March 11th hits, and this conversation takes a weird turn.
Was he a part of that? Was he a part of mentor, like the conversations? I saw something that said he was part of the calls, right? He was part of in picking the coach, right?
He wasn't in it like Josh Allen was in it. Like, so he was in the interviews, the phone calls. He spoke to some guys. He gave his feedback. Pretty much from what I understood, from what I heard now I don't, again, I'm not really in the Lamar Jackson circle, but from what I heard, Lamar Jackson was basically saying, hey, I trust you guys, pick the guy you guys want, and I'm out. It is what it is. I'll play for whoever.
Awfully interesting, and you said it, Sam. It is one of the more intriguing storylines of the offseason. We'll have about a month or so to see whether or not Lamar Jackson does sign that contract extension, putting the Ravens in a more optimal spot. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers here for a second. They got some cash to spend, $45 million above the cap right now. So you got a new head coach in Mike McCarthy, Mark. Interested to see what happens with quarterback. Does Aaron Rodgers come back? Do they go with a backup? Do they look elsewhere? Interesting to see what happens there. But in terms of the money they have to spend and the direction they're going to go with it, what do you view Pittsburgh to do here in the offseason in the free agency period and the draft?
As long as we don't get Kirk Cousins, I'm happy. There's been rumors around that, but no, this is a whole new era for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and $45 million. The draft is in Pittsburgh coming up very soon, which I'll be going to. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The Steelers have 12 picks. They have a lot of money. They need to figure out, first and foremost, who their quarterback is going to be. Now, there's one route. If it does go towards Rodgers, one more year, you do that. Then you get someone in the draft, or maybe you develop Will Howard into next year, whatever it may be. So one route is Rodgers, but obviously there's pros and cons there. Cons are that, he's not mobile. We saw it in the Texan game, which, by the way, thanks, fellas, we didn't talk about, which is great. Never talked about the Texan game. We kind of skipped that one. We got fucking smashed. Our offensive line just fell apart, and Rodgers, got tackled and there was turnovers, and then the game was over. So if the Steelers go that route, like, I'm okay with it. If they, but it's not like we still need a franchise quarterback like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, or Joe Burrow, or do I say Sanders? I don't know.
Baby.
Throw it up, baby.
Get it up.
No, I don't know, but you need someone like that, like the Commanders have. You need one of those guys. Steelers haven't had that guy since Big Ben. Could that be Will Howard? That's the first direction. They got to choose their quarterback. Then they got to fucking figure out their receivers, because DK Metcalf, he is the receiver number one, but he kind of played right receiver number two this year. There were some certain contested catches that he couldn't get. Now, all you fellas will probably thinking they should have kept George Pickens.
Duh.
Right? I know you guys are going to say that. So they haven't got George Pickens there, and that's maybe a Mike Tomlin thing. I'm not saying they're going to bring him back. George Pickens will get paid over in Dallas, but they got to find a receiver. They need to also figure out offensive line at the guard position. I think center's good, right tackle's good, right guard I think is good. They got to figure out left tackle. With Broderick Jones, he suffered a really bad injury with his neck, and then Dylan Cook took his place in terms of left tackle, and he was an undrafted guy, which we want to see him do well. But they got to go to the draft. They got to draft receivers, tight ends, specialist guys, running backs, O-line. They got to figure it out. They got to also find maybe another replacement to Cameron Hayward. I think this could be his last year. We're not even sure if he's coming back. There's going to be a whole new team with all the new coaching coming in. But it is quite exciting, though, because we have 12 draft picks, and I think they might make a move to get up a quarterback, or maybe they move up in the draft to get a really good receiver or something like that. They need like some splash plays and some big-time players on this team. There's a lot of holes. Like, there really is. I know Mike Tomlin got a lot of flack for losing games, but I don't think this is the strongest roster, to be honest. We haven't got a quarterback, so there's a lot of holes.
The only team right now in the AFC North that's not currently cap compliant is the Cleveland Browns, nearly $20 million beneath the cap. So with that increase to the salary cap coming around the bend here, they'll be cap compliant, but barely. So Todd Monken, he's in charge now, Zay. What do the Cleveland Browns do this offseason, free agency-wise, draft-wise, to put Todd Monken in the best position for success with Shadur Sanders?
Well, they've already been telling us that it's all hands on deck to making this offense, building it from the ground up, in the words of Todd Monken, honestly. You've got Q, you've got 44. Jerry Jeudy's under contract, so everything else is pretty much up for grabs. I think Isaiah Bond, he'll be a big part of this offense this year. But, Sam, dare I say, can Todd Monken bring Linderbaum to the land? That's something that we could be looking at. I think Wyatt Teller, as much as I love Wyatt Teller, it seems as if his time in Cleveland is probably done. Joe Patonio probably going to be retiring, so there's going to be some overhaul on the offensive line, which pretty much leads us to the draft. I think this has trade back written all over it. I think this has garnishing as much picks as you can from the 6th pick, and dare I say the 24th pick as well. It just feels like this is one of those things where they're building up the arms race for next draft and the year after that, and letting Todd Monken finesse his way with this offense. I think George Pickens is a very interesting conversation with Cleveland as well. Todd Monken connection in Georgia in 2021. I know George Pickens was injured that year, but still maybe some ties there. I think that they're going to make a splash in the receiver department this year. I've been banging on the table and calling for A.J. Brown for months now. I think A.J. Brown is a prime candidate for what Andrew Berry likes. And, knowing his connection with Howie Roseman and how tight they are, first time Andrew Berry seeming like this is his real offseason to do what he wants to do, maybe throwing him a bone in the process. Andrew Berry mentioned at the end of the offseason, everyone wants to talk about the cap space and how are you going to pay these guys the money. He said they'll have ample money to spend come time to do it. So there will be some kind of moves being made, and I think the splash will finally come at the receiver position. But you got to get the offensive line first. So Linderbaum, it would be maybe that's a dream, but I think O-line is in their near future in the draft.
Well, there you have it, folks. The offseason is just getting started. We've already had some crazy changes in the division. New head coach for Mark's Steelers, new head coach for Zay's Browns, new head coach for Sam's Ravens. That's already what's happened. We can't wait to see what continues to unfold here. We took a sneak peek at what could potentially happen down the line, and we'll keep you updated throughout the offseason as things start to transpire. We appreciate you tuning in to this episode tonight. It was great to have you. And we look forward to spending the rest of the offseason with you as we move into the free agency period and the draft and so on. But for tonight, that is going to do it. For Zay, Mark, Sam, and Zim, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning in to the AFC North Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next.
Roundtable Sports Network is your one-stop shop for all things NFL, with daily live shows covering all 8 divisions in the league, hosted by the best content creators on the web, all on one network. Catch the AFC East live every Monday at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. The AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. The AFC North Roundtable live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. The AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. The NFC East Roundtable live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. The NFC West Roundtable live at 9 p.m. on Tuesday nights. The NFC North Roundtable is at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays, and the NFC South Roundtable is live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. EST. And of course, fourth and forever, the flagship show of Roundtable Sports Network covering all things NFL at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Roundtable Sports YouTube channel. Real coverage, real fans.